Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about another team that struggled early on in the season, but in the last little stretch of games have hit the pedal, have gotten back into a winning groove, most importantly have gotten themselves back to being healthy, and are starting to show how good they truly are and how good they truly can be through the rest of the season, and show that they can still be a force within their respective conference. And today, that is the Dallas Mavericks. This is a team that we're expected to do quite well this year, potentially a top 4, top 5 seed in the West. And it just really didn't pan out that way to start the season. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis was still out, and then they had some time where they were affected with the virus. Josh Richardson was out, Dorian Finney-Smith. They were really devoid of wing depth and players in those 2, 3, 4 spots. Maxi Kleber's missed some time. Dwight Powell's missed some time. They've really struggled with the injury bug and with the virus. But now they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. Now a game over 500 and only a game back of the 8 seed of the Golden State Warriors. Now they're right back in the hunt of it, and they've been playing really well recently. And so with that being said, I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks so far, how I think they're going to continue on this season, and how they will potentially do from there. With that being said, if you guys do enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe if you are new. And let's get right into it. And so, any discussion about the Dallas Mavericks has to start with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is the engine that carries this team. There's no surprise to that. Luka Doncic is an MVP caliber player, and he's been playing like that this season, and most recently, especially since the team's been winning. He's averaging 28.5 points a game this year, very comparable to his points totals last year. His turnover numbers are about the same, around 4. His rebounding numbers as a guard at 9 rebounds per game is utterly insane. I struggled to wrap my head around that. I know he's 6'7", but still, absolutely nuts. And then nuts assist numbers, of course, as well. Getting close to 9 or at 9 assists per game. The biggest improvement for him so far this season has been his efficiency from three-point range. He's up from 31.6% last year up to 35.7% this year. He is shooting about 1.5 threes per game less, but the efficiency is up, so he's nearly making as many threes as he was last year. He's just shooting them at a more efficient rate, and that is something that is going to be very important for this Dallas Mavericks team moving forward. He always seems to hit those clutch ones, but if he can hit them a little bit more consistently with already how good he is at his angles, at change of direction, change of pace, getting to the rim, setting up others, it just adds that other extra layer that is just so hard to defend him. And Luka Doncic is an MVP caliber player. He's played so far like that. Kristaps Porzingis is an interesting one. The fit and the mold and his play in Dallas hasn't been great. He's started 19 games so far now this season, averaging a bit over 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, putting up 1.6 blocks, shooting 34% from deep only for a guy that is a so-called three-point specialist as a 7'3" guy, as weird as that sounds. Shooting 47% from the field, which is up from last year. But he's been really hit and miss, and his fit hasn't been great. His defense has been questionable at times, although his rim protection has still been decent, although not great and as good as it has been in previous seasons. And his mobility in the perimeter and pick and rolls has been questionable as well. And his shooting's been really hit and miss. When I was watching the game the other night, he had the first half, I believe it was 0-7 or 0-8, and then he had a good second half. But for a guy this big, his offense lives on the perimeter and a few takes to the basket. I'd love to see him develop a post game, whether that's some post moves with some footwork, some hook shots, getting some fadeaways closer to the basket. There's so much more that someone with his just freak of nature body could do on the offensive end to be an elite offensive player with his athleticism and his scoring ability and his shooting that he just hasn't done yet. Because think if we have Kristaps Porzingis' shooting ability and has a bit of ability to take guys off the dribble if need be to get to the rim. And imagine if he has any amount of a post game, just any amount of one, and actually uses it and posts guys up and takes guys to the rim. He would be an absolute force on the offensive end, and he already is quite good. But there are question marks, right? There are obviously question marks, and part of that probably has to do with the fact that he is 7'3" and nearly half of his shots come from behind the 3-point line. And obviously he has a good 3-point shot, but he's shooting 34% from deep this year. That's not anything outrageously amazing. And it's again, at 7'3", you would just like to think someone can do a little bit more than sit on the perimeter for the majority of his offense. At least from what I've noticed from watching this Dallas Mavericks team, is he doesn't really spend much time down and around in the paint. If anyone does, it's Dwight Powell when he comes in, or Willie Cauley-Stein. That's about it. Porzingis doesn't really spend any time down there. And I think he doesn't necessarily have to be always in the paint, but having that part developed and so he can make cuts down there or set himself in a position if he sees the right matchup, I think that would be very valuable to him. I don't know. I know there's trade rumors around him getting traded. I don't know if he is going to get traded because I don't know how much of a market there is for him right now. And so for that reason, I think they probably hold on to him. I think he's still a very good co-star next to Luka Doncic. He just might not be as good of a player as Dallas thought they were getting, considering the best season that Porzingis has been with the Knicks before he got traded to the Mavericks. Moving along to someone who has arguably had his best, or definitely if not one of his best seasons of his career so far at age 28, is Tim Hardaway Jr., who's just looked a much better scorer this season under the Dallas Mavericks. And that's kind of just what the Mavericks offense does. It just makes a player look better on offense. His shot selection at times and his streakiness at times is still an issue. He is still only shooting 44% from the field, but he is shooting nearly 39% from deep again, on making nearly 3 a game. And you can't really go wrong with that. Averaging 16 points a game now this season, 3 rebounds, 1.7 steals. He's not really doing too much else for you other than being a scorer. But this team is devoid a little bit of perimeter scoring outside of Luka Doncic as far as guards go. And so his role is important on this team because outside of Doncic and Tim Hardaway Jr., Jaylen Brunson is the only guy who's really a quality, high-level scorer on this team. Josh Richardson, you would hope, would get to that level, but we will get to him in a little bit. And so, Tim Hardaway Jr. isn't bringing you great defense. He's not bringing you great playmaking, great rebounding. He's not bringing you any of that. But he is just, he can get the ball and he can score you the ball. That's just what he does, right? And there's no doubt his streakiness is very much a factor. And some nights he can shoot you into a game or shoot you into a win. And other nights he might shoot you out of a game. But that's kind of the way it just has kind of always gone with Tim Hardaway Jr. throughout his career. And you'd hope that he can be a little bit more consistent, but there's no doubt he has been, in general, a quality player on the offensive end for the Dallas Mavericks this season. Moving along to someone who I really want to talk about has been one of the most interesting, most improved, and most impactful players on the Dallas Mavericks team this year is Jaylen Brunson. He's only in his 3rd year now. He's only 24. He's still quite young. And he is now nearly averaging 13 points per game this season, while his efficiency has gone up from 3 and from the field, as well as the free throw line, and in increased minutes, his turnover numbers have not gone up. He has stayed very efficient and effective with those increase in numbers, the increase in role, and he's just taken more shots, had more time with the ball, had more time on the floor, and his efficiency has gone up and his turnover numbers have not gone up at all. They are the exact identical numbers as last season. He is now shooting 42% from deep, now given only on 3.2 attempts per game, but 42% from deep and 53% from the field. For someone that is what is looking to be like probably going to be the 6th man, or if not 2nd man off the bench for the Mavericks, depending on whether Tim Hardaway Jr. starts or not, he's been a big spark plug for him off the bench. And as far as a backup point guard goes, someone they really needed it behind Luka Doncic if Doncic needs a little bit of a break, and someone to kind of be the lead creator and lead ball handler on offense. And there's no doubt that Jaylen Brunson is not the creator that Luka Doncic is, but hardly anyone in the league is. And so Brunson still has respectable ability to be able to create for others. He has a very good shot from range. He has very good ability to create his own shot and get to the basket. And I think the continued development of him, specifically in the last few weeks, has really been quite fun to see. And I think it's something, if we can continue to see improve, it's going to be a big impact for this Dallas team off the bench. Next up, a disappointment for me last season and a disappointment for me again this season on this Dallas Mavericks team has to be Josh Richardson. He just has not been able to get back to that level that he was playing with in Miami. 2 seasons ago, he was averaging 16.6 points per game in Miami. Now, given that was definitely in an increased role with increased minutes, that was a weaker Miami team than the Philly team he played on or the Dallas team he is currently playing on. But he is down to 12.7 points per game this year, shooting under 30% from 3 for the first time in his career. He started his rookie season shooting 46%. He is now down to under 30%. His three-point shooting has drastically decreased, and his overall efficiency is hanging around that 43%, which is kind of where he's been around the last few seasons. There's no doubt Josh Richardson offers very good perimeter defense, but there's been flashes of him being able to do more on the offensive end and be more efficient on the offensive end, and he hasn't been able to do that. He's making 1.5 threes per game on 5.2 attempts. And for someone who's shooting under 30% from 3, you should not be shooting 5.2 threes per game. I understand the shoot out of your slump thing, and I'm all for that. But there also has to be a point in time where either he needs to hit the gym and figure out a shot, or he needs to stop shooting so many. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't shoot threes at all, but maybe you just only shoot the open ones for a bit, and not take as heavily contested shots. I hope Josh Richardson can get his offense back to a higher level. I've really liked what I've seen from him early on in his career. I really liked what I saw of him in Miami. His defense, his hard work ethic, his ability to hit down some shots, and a decent three-point shooter. But that seems to have heavily regressed the last few seasons, and Dallas could really benefit from a little bit more offensive injection from him into that starting lineup. Now, someone who essentially does the role of Josh Richardson on the wing, who is not expected to do any offense, who I really like, who kind of goes under the radar, is Dorian Finney-Smith. And he's arguably even more beneficial than Josh Richardson on offense this year. Obviously, Finney-Smith, as a power forward, is not creating his own shot or working off the dribble too much or anything of the sorts. But he's shooting 35.7% from deep this season, averaging 8.4 points per game, while also getting 5 rebounds a game as well. And he is just a very good, long, physical wing defender. There's no doubt about it. That's what he does. He does it very well. And the fact that he's developed his three-point shot over the last couple seasons with Dallas to a point where now he is actually a serviceable three-point shooter compared to early in his career where he wasn't. Full kudos to him for putting in the work and time to get into that. His three-point shooting has gone from under 30% to now 37.6 and 35.7 the last 2 years. And his free throw shooting is up to 83% this season. This consistent, slow, steady improvement for him since he was drafted with Dallas to now being here. And yeah, full credit to him. He's a very important part of this team, and I really like Dorian Finney-Smith as a player. I think he's very valuable to any team he's on, and especially for this Dallas Mavericks team, a team that doesn't have great defense in general, and so his defense is very important for them. I just want to mention off talking about a few other players on the team, specifically Maxi Kleber, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber specifically have missed a fair bit of time this season, and along with that, they haven't quite been putting up the performances that they would normally put up, especially compared to the last season, just due to some rust, and as you would expect with missing some time. Dwight Powell not quite getting as many minutes as last season either, but these guys are really impactful players for them in the front court. Maxi Kleber's ability to step out and hit threes at that power forward position is very valuable. He is shooting 47% from deep so far in the season, while picking up 5.2 rebounds per game, nearly a block a game, and 1.5 assists. It's very valuable for this team. Their effort and ability to rebound and make some key buckets off the bench for them is very valuable, and I don't think they get enough credit on this team. With that being said, they are definitely on the up. They are up to the 9th most efficient offense in the league now. This is a team last year that was far and away the best offense in the league, and so there's no doubt they will look to improve on that. Now, of course, this year there's the Brooklyn Nets that have the firepower offense, so there's probably no odds they catch them. But there's no doubt that if Dallas are going to be a team that is going to contest for being one of the top teams in the Western Conference come the playoff time, they're going to have to be better than the 9th rated offensive team in the league. And they have been better than that while they've been on this winning streak, and hopefully they can continue that. Now, we know that this Dallas team is not great on defense, but again, they are 27th in the league this season in defensive efficiency, and that just can't continue. You cannot be a championship contending team and be a bottom half defense. You don't have to be a top 5 defense if your offense is that elite, but you at least need to be a top half defense. You can't be sitting down here as a 27th ranked defense. And I could say the same thing for Portland. I really like Portland's team and I think they're fun, and they have some good wing defenders, but their guard defense is very poor outside of Gary Trent, and you could even say their wing defense when Carmelo comes on isn't very good, and it shows. They're 28th in the league in defensive efficiency, and that's going to hurt them when it really matters come the playoffs if that level can't pick up. Same thing with Washington, 26th, Atlanta, 25th. These are teams with a lot of talent on the roster, but not necessarily great defense, and these are the types of teams that probably aren't playing as well as some people would have expected. Me included in that expectations, and this is some of the reasons why. And so when I look at this Dallas Mavericks team, there's no doubt there's a lot of talent on the roster. Luka Doncic is on the team. They have that MVP caliber player that can carry them. They have a co-star, arguably, in Kristaps Porzingis, although you could argue that this season he hasn't been that so far. And then some key pieces around them, and Josh Richardson, Jaylen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Finney Smith, Trey Burke, Cleaver, Cauley Stein, Powell, Iwundu, you name it. There's a lot of quality depth on this team. But if this quality depth and quality pieces can't combine to be at least a slightly more respectable defensive team come playoffs, I don't see them making a push any further than they did last season. I can't see it. There's no doubt the offense on this team is very good, and maybe the defense can shore up. But until the defense shores up, I don't see this team being any better than a team that gets to the second round. Their seeding might be good, but until the defense improves, I don't see them being any better than a team that makes it to the second round. That's my thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks. I hope I'm wrong. I think this team is really fun. I really enjoy watching this team. And it'd be nice to see them have a better defense. I'd love to see Luka Doncic push on through a playoff series. I'd love to see a Luka Doncic and LeBron James match up in a playoff series. I think that would be so fun. But let's see how it goes. Maybe their defense doesn't improve, and maybe I'm wrong. That being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe if you are new. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.